The
is
fact
not doing
that they
enough.
shoot at people as they're waiting in line for humanitarian aid. Dozens of people get shot and killed literally every single day, as they're waiting for food. No, I'm not gonna let you filibuster, bitch. I'm not gonna let you filibuster. I'm not gonna let you filibuster. You guys are totally okay with IDF soldiers shooting and killing desperate people waiting for humanitarian aid. You're okay with that. I find it so unbelievably evil. Unbelievably evil. It shocks my conscience and my soul that people as evil as this exist in this world. Okay? Watching these images, looking at these videos, seeing all these kids desperate, hungry, parentless, trapped in Gaza, and you're sitting here and you're defending it. I can't stand it. I can't listen to it. The filibustering is unbearable.
You can't, on one hand, demand that American taxpayers who are desperate for a better life here in America, they need to hand over billions of dollars to the Israeli government and the IDF, and we need to shut the F up about any of our critique. AIPAC is evil. AIPAC is evil, evil. My fellow Americans, are you okay with that? Are you okay with a lobbying group representing the best interests of a foreign government telling you you need to bust your ass every day, work a job that you likely hate, and have a portion of your earnings taken from you by our federal government and funneled to the Israeli government so they can commit atrocities in the Gaza Strip? Are you okay with that? Because I'm not okay with that. I know it hurts your feelings. I know it's difficult for me to explain exactly what the Israeli government's plans are, what they have dragged us into in the past. I just want to note one other thing. You know, not too long ago, I think it was last month, as international diplomats from Europe actually were in the occupied area of Jenin specifically, the IDF fired bullets at them. And by the way, later took responsibility of the fact that they fired bullets at them. That seems like terroristic activity. Why was that okay? And why have we not heard about the consequences that those IDF soldiers faced, if any at all, after they decided to fire rounds at international diplomats as they were visiting Jenin?
In that particular incident, there was a misunderstanding because the diplomats had agreed and approved the route with the army.
Don't forget about the 232 journalists in Gaza that have been slaughtered by the IDF. You're disgusting. You're disgusting. You people disgust me.
They confirmed
There's
it was
no
Hamas.
humanity in people like you, Emily. No humanity. None.
And blaming the IDF.
I can't even
the IDF is the one who is assuring that there's humanitarian aid.
I'm an Armenian. I know genocide when I see it.
That have been
You
distributed
are a
already.
defender of genocide. You are a genocider and a defender of genocide.
Foundation. I know you don't like facts, Anna, but this is the reality. The only person who would be...
There are two countries in this whole scenario that do have nuclear weapons. One, of course, is the United States of America. The other, they don't acknowledge it, is Israel. So they act like, oh, we're just little lambs, and well, it's such a big threat. In a perfect world, neither of those countries would have nuclear weapons, but one of them does, and the one that does loves to cry about how it's always under threat while it's bombing Iranian embassies in places like Syria. Iran is not a threat to America. There's no evidence that Iran is a threat to America.
Developing nuclear weapons?
They are part of...
Are they developing nuclear weapons or not?
They are not developing nuclear weapons. There is no evidence of that.
So why are they having nuclear peace talks?
First of all, I would not be surprised if they geared up enriching uranium as a result of the fact that Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal in 2018.
The Iran nuclear deal.
Let me make that point.
Hold on.
It's okay. Iran is part of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Do you know what that is? Non-Proliferation Treaty allows the international community to do checks on Iran to ensure that they are not developing nuclear weapons. The country that does have nuclear weapons is Israel. They are not part of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. They don't even acknowledge the fact that they have nuclear weapons. The idea that Israel, that has the backing of the top military superpower in this world, and that's the United States, the country that has nuclear weapons, is crying about how Iran is such a threat to Israel. It's ridiculous that the United States has been expending its resources and has been essentially sending its soldiers to die in wars on behalf of Israel, a country that goaded us into invading Iraq on a false pretense of weapons of mass destruction. 4,000 of our soldiers died in Iraq. You didn't send a single IDF soldier. Not one IDF soldier was sent to Iraq. Our soldiers died on your behalf, Kunrikus, on your country's behalf. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. You guys are committing a genocide right now, yet you're a nuclear power that's not in the Non-Proliferation Agreement. Why? Why is that?
If an armed man grabbed a family member of yours, do you have kids?
No, I don't.
Oh, do you have? Okay, your mother. You talked about your mother. If an armed gunman grabbed your mother, had a gun to her head, okay, and he is confronted by the authorities, by law enforcement, and law enforcement, they just decide, you know what, we're not going to negotiate, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to shoot the hell out of both of them. And then they come to you and say, well, your mother, sorry, was a human shield. Would you accept that argument?
That's not the question, though.
Would you accept that argument?
You're making up a random story that what my mother is held captive.
Hamas using Palestinians as human shields is not a justification to indiscriminately bomb the hell out of that region, knowing full well that the majority of people who are going to end up dying are not Hamas militants who are underground in the tunnels, okay? It's the innocent civilians who are going to lose their lives. And the flippant behavior that I see from the West in regard to all of those innocent people losing their lives disgusts me, okay? Seeing people having to leave, vacate their homes, everything that they've known, being forced to leave the land that they have. That is exactly what happened during the genocide.
And no, it's not something that just started after October 7th. It's something that's existed for a long, long time. And people are sick of it. People are calling it out. And the people calling it out aren't anti-Semites. They're not anti-Jewish.
What's really depressing, though, is, we provide a lot of the weapons that Israel has. And Israel sold weapons to Azerbaijan to carry out the ethnic cleansing of ethnic Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh.
What?
Yep.
Is that confirmed?
Yes, it's confirmed. It's absolutely confirmed.
Israel sold weapons to Azerbaijan to kill the Christians.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
You're sure?
Yeah, anyone can look it up.
I sense a theme, and I have a right to sense that theme because I'm a Christian and I'm not going to cede that right.
And no, Zoran Mamdani is not a jihadist. He's just smeared as one by those who don't like the fact that he's ballsy enough to criticize Israel, which is basically a third rail among most American politicians. Look, for me, funding the bombs that Israel is using in its genocide is deeply, deeply shameful. It is hard for me to feel pride about my American identity knowing that my government is doing that with my tax dollars. Can we discuss the prison guards at the Israeli prisons who have been caught raping Palestinian detainees who haven't been charged with any crimes? When that story became public, can we discuss the fact that when there were supposed to be consequences for said rapist Israeli prison guards, the insane, unhinged extremist settlers started rioting in order to offer protection for the said rapists?
You're not going to silence my ass. You're not going to silence my ass by invoking the Holocaust or calling me an anti-Semite. I don't give a shit. Okay, I see what's happening clearly. I'm going to speak up about it, and no one's going to shut me up. Period. End of story. We see what's going on. The entire international community sees what's happening. The Israeli government wants to genocide and ethnically cleanse Palestinians, not just in Gaza, but the West Bank too.
Yet a whopping 78% of Israel's arms imports came from and were paid for by the United States. No money for Medicaid, but endless funds for genocide. That is what is currently taking place. That is the reality of the situation. If it weren't the reality of the situation, journalists would be free to operate and do their jobs in Gaza to document what's happening. There's a very intentional effort to prevent the documentation of what's happening. It's not at all a coincidence in my mind that more than 200 journalists have already been killed in Gaza. You see the images on the ground. It's just absolutely brutal, and intentionally so. It's meant to be unlivable. The aerial bombardments, the destruction of infrastructure, the destruction of hospitals, universities, refugee camps, residential buildings, that's all intentional. So when Trump talks about, no one wants to live there, like Gazans don't want to live there. I mean, it's unlivable. Yeah, it is unlivable. On purpose. It was made unlivable with the bombs that we American taxpayers are funding on behalf of the Israeli government so they can drop them, on the heads of these Palestinian people, destroy everything they have. It's just hilarious, right? To point to the awful situation on the ground that we aided and abetted, and then use that as the justification for the ethnic cleansing that is to come. I did say that Israel controls the United States, and I meant it. How are you going to argue otherwise? Okay, almost every single lawmaker on the left or right does the bidding of the Israeli government, either because they are legally bribed by AIPAC, or they're afraid that AIPAC is going to target them in some political campaign so they don't win re-election. I believe there's also a possibility of a blackmail operation. But yeah, I mean, we do anything and everything Israel wants. Why are the United States taxpayers tasked with paying for the bombs and the military of a foreign government when that foreign government had an economic surplus in 2021? Yeah. The United States hasn't had an economic surplus since 2001. So yeah, our government is controlled by Israel. And I do not apologize for saying that. I said they like to think of themselves as God's chosen people, but they act like demons. And I stand by that. when you're killing innocent people, don't hide behind your religious doctrine to make yourself out to be a good person. I've got no skeletons in my closet. So the only thing they've got left is to try to scare me, intimidate me, and say that they're going to murder me. And guess what? It's not gonna work. I'm an American. I'm proud to be an American. I'm not an Israeli. There's no law on the books that indicates that I have to support Israel in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, as Israel continues its genocide against the Palestinian people, I will continue to speak out against them, unafraid.